What we're going to talk about today on rental agreements is kind of some of the big picture items so that when you leave here, you can go back to your office, look at your respective rental agreement, and get a better sense of how you might want to apply some of the things we've talked about today to your specific circumstances on your specific rental property. First, SCAOA offers a great resource, as you already know. I believe online or through the main office with Lisa or Kathy, they actually have a rental agreement that you can obtain and tailor as you want. A lot of people will go out to a Staples or an Office Max, and some of them offer you can buy out of the file drawer a quote-unquote rental agreement. A lot of the websites, some of the large associations, particularly in King County, like SCAOA, you can download and obtain a rental agreement. All of those serve a basic function, but what we want to talk about here this morning is to really start to clarify the intent of the rental agreement and why it's such an important element of your business. Just like the tenant screening on who you're handing the keys to, just like the move-in and move-out report, a requirement of state law, the rental agreement is really a contract between you as the landlord and the tenants as consumers to create a contractual obligation which then imparts on both of you a legal obligation under both state law, but there are also ramifications that go to the federal level as well as go to the local municipal level, and in some instances a county or a city level. To begin with, let's first make sure we understand the major distinction when we talk rental agreement. Washington law, and write down on this from last workshops, is RCW 59.18, which is the Washington Residential Landlord-Tenant Act, will define what we're going to talk about in the legalese. So when you're saying, well, Willis told me, it's, well, no, Willis isn't telling you. RCW 59.18 is what is telling you. So as you learn to navigate your way through that, you will find in there a very clear distinction where state law says this is a month-to-month, or which is also or technically called periodic tenancy, versus a fixed term, or what is commonly referred to by people as a lease. Now the two of those are pretty simple. Month-to-month means you have a starting date and you have no established ending date. It's an agreement, periodic tenancy, and perpetuity. As long as the tenant is paying the rent, and as long as he or she is following the rules, and you're following the rules, and you're both in compliance with the terms of the rental agreement and applicable laws, then you have a tenancy that goes on until one party notifies the other party in accordance with the rules and the rental agreement that somebody's going to end it. Very different in contrast to a fixed term, meaning you have a starting date and you have a definitive ending date. And the distinctions between the two are huge. Both simply from the standpoint of starts on January 1st, terminates on June 30th. Is there any legal notice on a lease that the tenant intends to leave on June 30th? No, because state law says where you have a definitive starting date and a definitive ending date, no notice is required. Now the age-old argument between these two, I think, is worth talking about.